As modern Americans, we tend to worry so much about getting old. We place so much emphasis on the years in our lives, yet we fail to focus on the life in our years. Modern culture, modern society condescends towards the elderly, looking at them as over the hill, irrelevant, no longer necessary to command our respect or attention. But in reality, the Torah teaches us that it's exactly the other way around. Listen to how the spiritual leader of our generation, the Rebbe, speaks about the importance of the golden years, the years of one's supposed retirement.
Mura sehr, man soll abschätzen, dem Nisoye mit der Harpatkois, wo das keinem haben, ist man Mischalim, a Heper von Tewe, Tachas Tewe, hat Mechaner gewähnt die Kinder. Und hat Mechaner gewähnt die Pkidim und die Angestellte in seinem Beis HaMischer und Beis HaEsrik. Und hat sich gestellt auf die Fies und bewiesen, was sie mit der Farben. I wie bald das Sikna gehört der Mensch aufs Gehen. Was ähnlich hatte ich in den Jahren von Chedi HaChevro, als was sich eingestellt Rachman al-Islam für die letzte 10 Jahren a Jachas zu Menschen, was Keichon bemosnam, Alachas kame, bekame, Keichon beresham, und besichlam. Aber es doch zu sehen, ungeheben Messiache sein, wie das, was mir ruft, das Sohn beloschen am Medine, wie zu zweitrangige Menschen. Nur bei dem Punkt, wie alle in ihrem Gide Rebischter Pchiro, hat ein Mensch ein Pchiro als Welt älter, als sie sollen werden Chaim, Schonim, Vechaf shal Chaim Tevim, und Leim Techen, Fu, mit der lebendigen Inhalt und mit der nemischen Inhalt.
The Rebbe taught us that we have absolutely nothing to scorn at the elderly. Rather, look at them as a tremendous resource of experience, of wisdom, the likes of which you can't find anywhere else. In Hebrew, we say, "Ein chacham kibal nisayon." There is no such wisdom as the man of experience, and that is what you're going to find when you're able to reach your golden years. You know, there was a Canadian senator who would always celebrate his milestone birthdays. When he turned 50, when he turned 60, when he turned 70, he would have a big birthday. But when he turned 80, he got depressed because at the age of 80, he figured that he was over the hill, he was no longer relevant, and that's it. He was done. At some point, he connected with the chief rabbi of the Kotel, of the Western Wall in Jerusalem, Rabbi Shmuel Rabinovich, who directed him to the Rebbe. And he writes a letter to the Rebbe about how he feels so down and miserable about reaching the age of 80 and no longer feeling relevant. The Rebbe's response to him was amazing. How old do you think that Moses was when Moses began his career? The answer is stunning, because when you look into the details of Moses' life, Moses was 80 years old when he stood at the burning bush being vetted out by God Almighty for the gargantuan task of setting the Jewish people free, letting them go from Egypt. Moses, when he turned 80, was at the burning bush. That's when he goes back to Egypt and he confronts Pharaoh, speaking truth to power. Let my people go so that they may serve me, so says the God of Israel. And he inflicts the 10 devastating plagues that crush the Egyptian society, eventually allowing the Jewish people to be free. He brings them through the Red Sea, through the desert to Mount Sinai, and he travels with them for 40 years through the desert until Moses, at the age of 120 years old, is able to finally leave this world and a life, the first 2/3 of which we don't know very much about. It's only the last third of Moses' life, which was impactful to a degree that we don't see anywhere else. Nobody else in Jewish history was as impactful, as influential as Moses. And that was a career that began at the age of 80 years old. You see, we don't retire because we get old. We get old because we retire. We have to realize that our lives are a gift from God, and every day that you wake up in the morning with life inside of you means that God has infused your soul into you because he trusts you and he thinks that there's a reason to give you another day of life. As we go to sleep at night, exhausted, we give God our soul. And in the morning when we wake up, God returns our soul to us, and we say the 12-second affirmation when we wake up in the morning, Modeh ani lefanecha, I thank you, O living and eternal King, for you have restored my soul within me with compassion. Great is your faithfulness. When we say those words, when we say that opening morning meditation affirmation, we're declaring that God has faith in me. Great is your faithfulness means that God has faith in me, that he believes in my value, he believes in my purpose, he sees a reason to give me life today. So whether you're 80 or 90 or 100 or 110, it doesn't make any difference. You're wiser than you ever were before. There's a beautiful story of the sons of the Tzemach Tzedek, the third Chabad Rebbe. Rabbi Menachem Mendel Schneerson, this is the third Chabad Rebbe, not the Rebbe that we know, who's the seventh Chabad Rebbe. He had several sons, the youngest of which became the next Rebbe of Chabad, the Rebbe Maharash. So one time when they were young, the brothers were discussing who was supposed to succeed their father. So the older brothers said, obviously us, because we're older. But it was the young son, the youngest, Reb Shmuel, who was the future Rebbe, who said something so brilliant. He said, you might be older than me in your own years, but I am older than you with father's years. In other words, you were born to a younger father. I was born to an older and more mature father. So in that regard, when you add dad's years, I am in fact older than you. What a brilliant perspective. He's incorporating the experience, the maturity, the wisdom of their father, which clearly evolved every single day of his life, to ensure that he himself actually had what it takes to lead and succeed his father's legacy. If we could only adopt such an approach, not to think of ourselves as yesterday's laundry, as no longer relevant. No, in these sunset years of your life, focus on all the things that you've wanted to do and you've never had time to do. Maybe you didn't have time to daven and to learn and to explore your faith. So do it now. Maybe you were too busy trying to make a living and busy in the rat race that you didn't have a chance, you didn't have an opportunity to go out and do the things that were important because you were so busy with the matters that were urgent. Maybe you should spend more time with your children and grandchildren now. Maybe you could focus on your relationship with your wife, your children, your family, or with your God, or maybe with yourself. Maybe you can read, maybe you can write, but you can certainly make a difference, because today you are wiser than you have ever been. Today you are more experienced than you have ever been, ever in your life before. Make sure to make this day count, not only counting your days.